И я с большим удовольствием хочу пригласить на сцену нашего первого героя. Это знаменитый, не побоюсь этого слова, европейский дизайнер Себастьян Харкнер, который, во-первых, он молод, хорош собой, делает совершенно невероятно прекрасную, очень удобную и интересную мебель, которая одновременно не броская и очень изобретательная. У него множество наград. Его самое последнее достижение, чисто по времени, но понятно, что не по порядку, это то, что он был назван дизайнером года на выставке Maison et Objet этой зимой. И, собственно говоря, для нас большая честь и удовольствие видеть его здесь, потому что в Москве он впервые. Себастьян, please come up. Take the mic.
Yeah. Hello.
So, this is your first time in Moscow, right?
That's right, yeah.
And but you have been to Russia before. 2 years ago? 2 years.
About 2 years ago to St. Petersburg, yeah.
And you did you told me that you interacted with Lina Perlova. And what did you do? Was it an exhibition or what?
Well, Lina introduced me to St. Petersburg and to her clients, and I was invited to do a lecture at her design gallery.
I see. So you do have some impression of Russia.
Mm-hmm.
And what is it? How do you like it?
No, it's really fascinating. Already St. Petersburg was fantastic. The architecture, see the influence of Russian architecture, but also of European or Italian architecture, like you can see it here, maybe also in Moscow. I think the collage of different styles, it's very, very interesting. And yesterday to walk around with a friend was really inspiring and great. And it's my first time in Moscow, and I heard a lot of it from friends from the past. Also, when I was a child, there was a friend of mine. She was at the German school in Moscow, and she always told me about the beauty of the subway stations and the Kremlin and so on. So yesterday I had the opportunity to see it.
Do tell me how important for the designer are such impressions, impressions of external beauty, influences, inspirations. Do they matter, or do you work from the inside?
No, I think the biggest privilege as a designer is that you have the possibility to travel around the world. So in different destinations, to South America or to Asia, and now here to Moscow. And it's fascinating how the craftsmen did all these beautiful buildings or details in the subways, like this ceramic plates with sportsmen, like in the Dynamo station, I think it was yesterday. So that's really great, and it still looks so avant-garde and new, and the people really appreciate it. I think so. Maybe the people living here, they pass by, but for me it's something really different to the stations, for example, in Frankfurt, which are not that beautiful like here.
Well, it does happen sometimes. Do tell me one thing. You are the designer of the year this year for the Maison et Objet. So that means that you had a major exhibition there, that you had to show your work, and this is an honor in itself. But do tell me one thing. Well, considering your design, what you represent as a designer in the way of style and thought and innovation, why do you think you were chosen as the designer? What do you represent? What is important, in what you do?
Yeah, well, I'm running my own design studio now for almost 12 years. So I started directly after university.
You're too young for that. No, it's impossible.
No, I started in Offenbach, which is a city next to Frankfurt, from 2001 to 2007. And I started my own studio alone. Now I have a couple of assistants, so we are 5 now. And I always had the idea to work in a very sustainable way, in a responsible way, connecting traditional crafts with new technologies, working with colors and materials, working also intercultural. And this is actually our design language and philosophy, and I think the Maison Objet, they really appreciate it, and like the press and over the years, and so it was a great challenge also to have this installation there and to show the way we are working.
So you think that the answer is like balance and respect for nature?
I think that's very important. As a designer, I'm very curious, but on the other hand, you meet a lot of people and you have to be respectful to everyone. You have to respect resources, materials, technologies, because nowadays, of course, we have to take care of the planet and the resources, because not all resources are endless. And we have to work in a responsible way with materials and crafts. And also for me, it's important as a designer that I create products which become companions for our life, not something trendy we want to have for a season or 2 seasons, then we throw it away. I think we don't have the time and the money anymore to produce products which are we want to get rid of it after a year. So the best is to have quality products like Lina has also in her gallery in St. Petersburg, which are design icons maybe also, and products in high quality, and we can have for the whole of our life.
Well, this is not a position which would be appreciated by furniture makers, because they want to sell more and more furniture, you know.
That's also the thing of the designers. They have to design new products every year to show on fairs like here or in Milan next week.
Do you tell me one thing? Do you have a favorite material when it comes to design?
Yeah, well, maybe one of them is the glass, because I started with the glass bell table, like 10 years ago. The design is 10 years, then it came in production 7 years ago. And glass is a very magical material, because it has different status. You have this hot liquid glass. It starts actually with something like a granulate, like a powder. It looks a little bit like cat litter at the beginning. Then they melt it, and you get something hot, like liquid, like honey also. And then it's something precious, transparent, breakable. And you can blow it, you can cast it, you can bend it, you can cut it, and you can paint on it working with colors. And I think that's very magic with the material of glass. And now there's really a big renaissance in glass. If you go to fairs like Maison Objet or also in Milan next week, you see a lot of glass objects in different typologies, from tables to vases and furniture. So I think that's very interesting. But there's in general, I think, revival of real materials like wood, marble, rugs also. And I think that's really that the people are looking for the value, for reality, real products, and I think that's really a good aspect nowadays.
And is there a material which you would never use, you know, out of principle?
Oh, that's really difficult to say, because there's always a reason for a material. I think it's important to use always the best material for products.
Well, I mean, sometimes people, for example, some furniture designers, they say that they would never use natural leather, for example, because it comes
No,
from...
that we use because we do sofas, and so some people order a sofa in leather, and I can't say to the companies, don't use leather on my products, and I also have shoes and a leather jacket, so I think that's not the issue. I'm thinking about, do we need a plastic chair for indoor? For outdoor, plastic fibers make sense, like I work with Dedon, for example, for outdoor furnitures, and their plastic is more robust and stable than, for example, natural fibers, rattan, for example. So, of course, I always have to discuss with myself, with my team, and also with the client if it's really the best material. And in the case of the bell table I mentioned, for me it was clear, okay, it has to be glass, the base, and there was not an idea to do it in plastic, because then it's maybe more cheaper,
the
for
feel
example.
is completely different.
Yeah, and I think that's very important to be honest also to the clients, that the material, if it's glass, it has to be glass and not just look like glass.
That's true. Bauhaus is having a jubilee this year. As a German designer, do you feel any influence of this great school?
Yeah, you're right. The Bauhaus turns 100 years this year. And of course, it's a very big anniversary, and it has influence for, I think, in general, for designers and architects around the world, because it was one of the big eras for a new style after Art Deco and Art Nouveau. So it was more minimal. It has also big impact for women in creative classes, you know, like women to become architects and designers. So this was also a big challenge, I think, which was very important. And Yeah, well, we still have similar values, but of course now it's 100 years later. We have different situations in the society, in the politics, and all this affects also the design. And in Germany, we have also another anniversary this year, 200 years of Tonet, for example.
That's true. That's
which
true.
is a very
which is a very innovative company, and you also did the chair for them,
yes, right? And Tonet was always very pioneering, inventive. They invented the steam bending of wood, so you have a wooden stick and you put it in the oven, and then it gets with steam and heat.
And boil it a bit.
Yeah, exactly. And then it's a little bit like pasta. It's a little bit al dente, and then you can bend it, and then it dries, and then it stays the shape. So
and then
like
you get the famous Viennese chair, and these chairs are an homage to that, right? Actually.
Exactly, and this like they did here with the injection molding in plastic, and the Tonet can do it similar in wood with this technique. And then later they worked with the Bauhaus together to do the steel bending, steel tube bending. And now they approached me a year ago if you would like to do a chair for them.
Oh, that's good, isn't it? I mean, to be a part of such
that's
tradition.
great, because when I was young at university, we visited the factory of Tonet, and it was always inspiring and
lovely.
great later that you can, 10 years later, that you can work with a company you visited as a student.
This is, this is which makes you, really dig into your career. This is an inspiring thing. Do tell me one thing. We are here at a building exhibition. This is an exhibition which is dedicated to materials mostly used in finishing and actually building houses. Do you do interiors? I mean, like interior designs?
We do a little bit private interiors, yeah.
Private interiors, and so one of the installations, which is located right next to where we're sitting, is called The Perfect Home. It's a collective effort of Russian designers to to fantasize about the perfect home for a family with kids and a dog. Could you describe your perfect home, which is maybe it's your own, or?
Yeah, well, it's always difficult to do for a client a perfect home, because for someone to do it a personal home, it has to be very personal for the person, and because it's most important that they really feel comfortable in their home. If you do just something you like and the client doesn't like, they don't feel welcome at home and cozy. So you really need to understand the client very well. So for me, of course, maybe it's my home, my perfect home, because it has my history and all the souvenirs I buy when I'm abroad and traveling, and I bring them home. So it's really a mix of the last years of things I really liked and enjoyed, and then I share my time now with at the home. And I think that's very important, that it's something you feel welcome. So it's not important to have big design classics or just brands or things like this. The most important thing is that you feel home, which is a very strong word.
Do tell me one thing. I think our time is sort of up, more or less. One last question. A lot of young designers dream of doing what you did, of suddenly becoming wanted by the big companies, suddenly starting producing the things that they think are right with the right factories. How to do that? What is the best way to approach these companies? How to present yourself so that you are not just one of the many guys with the prototype, but the one that is chosen?
Yeah, first of all, what I always say to young designers and students, it's not necessary to move to London, Paris, or Milan, because nowadays you have the internet, you have Skype. So I'm also not living in those cities. I live in Offenbach, which is a city with 150,000 people.
Nice.
Which is close to Frankfurt, so there's the advantage of the airport and the train station. So of course you need to be connected to other cities or countries to visit also fairs. But the most important is that you feel comfortable, that you have a nice team, that you can afford the rents and things like this for the studio. And then I do a lot of Skypes or WeChats or whatever with clients to be in conversation. But of course I have to visit them, and here you can reach all the towns, also from Moscow, in 3-4 hours in Europe. If you go to Milan, it's like 2 hours or 2.5, or 3. And I think of course, you have to go there to work with the craftsmen. And for me, the starting point was that as a young designer, I went to the platforms of young designs like Salone Satellite in Milan or Maison Objet, they have it, or in Cologne also at the IMM fair. And it's important to be present, to show your own design identity and language and philosophy. And then for me, always on fairs, of course, it's a good time to visit companies, to knock at the door, to ask for the design director, for the manager, and maybe they have time, maybe they say come on Friday again. And then sometimes you need to be a little bit pushy. You shouldn't be shy, of course, and it's work. It took me 5-6 years at the beginning, and now the companies who didn't want to work with me at the beginning, now they are asking, so it's also changing. And but it's important really to be present, and the most important fairs for furniture design, for example, are in Europe. They are Milan and Cologne and Paris. So, and they are all reachable for all of us here.
So your advice is to be bold, persistent, and to believe in what you're doing, right?
Yeah, that's definitely the most important thing. If you do something if you want to do something good, you have to do it with your heart and with your passion. And sometimes it's a 24/7 job, and you're traveling quite a lot. But on the other hand, it's fantastic. You meet nice people, you see new cultures, new buildings, new cities, and I think that's really something which is very special for my work and gives me a lot of inspiration.
Great, this is wonderful. Thank you very much for being here. And let's hope that maybe next year you'll have a stand here, right?
Would be lovely, yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. That was a lovely interview. And now be free and walk in Moscow and see some more inspiring things.
Thank you.